We've all needed to pause the TV or movie to get up, use the bathroom, get a snack, or something like this. More often than not, when we pause that TV or movie, it seems like the actor or actress would be captured in an unflattering moment. But beyond TV shows and movies, we all probably have had the feeling that the average picture of us, average candid picture of us, does not do us justice. This got our group thinking, is this an aberration, or is there something more to this? We started to ask the question, on average, do we seem more attractive in moving pictures than in the still pictures that comprise the clip? In order to formally test this research question, we basically asked subjects to rate a variety of clips from TV shows, as well as the stills that were in those clips. Lastly, this experiment was conducted online, and subjects were directed to this link to participate. On the left, we have the average rating of the stills, and on the right, we have the average rating of the videos. And as you can see, there's a positive slope indicating a medium effect being a difference of the attractiveness of the stills versus the images, or versus the moving pictures. And then to break it down even more, we have the medium effect illustrated with each of the 10 videos. And so each colored line is a different one of the 10 videos. And all 10 videos have an increasing slope. It may be hard to see for this one, but this one is also increasing slope if you get really close and look at the numbers. And this is indicating that all 10 clips were rated higher than their respective stills, giving us a consistent main effective medium. So you may be wondering, why does this matter? Well, looking into and understanding how we perceive attractiveness in a society that is hypersensitive to beauty is important. How attractive people appear is critical in making friends, getting dates, getting second dates, and even getting jobs. What factors are determined how attractive we seem is therefore of considerable importance. And for future endeavors, we want to look into whether the medium effect holds true for different actions, for example, eating, running, singing, etc. Thank you. Questions?
My name is Esther Chan. Thank you for being here tonight and listening to my presentation on my senior thesis. My thesis is titled Gender as Doctrine and Governance, Ideological Tools Framing Modes of Action in the Advent of an Evangelical Church Schism over Women in Pastoral Leadership. So gender is both ideologically and concretely enacted. And by ideologies, I mean that gender ideologies contain cultural beliefs about characteristics and behaviors that women and men can enact. And by concretely, I mean by behaviors in context of relationships. So, however, these enactments are context-specific, and I specifically studied these enactments in the context of an evangelical church schism. So in the summer of 2010, Hope Evangelical Church, this is pseudonyms to protect all those who were involved, experienced a church schism over women in pastoral leadership. Specifically, there was a woman pastor on the team, and two of the pastors felt uncomfortable with that and ended up resigning. Subsequently, one of the pastors went on and planted Covenant Church in the same local area. So members, they were forced to make a decision. They could either remain at Hope Evangelical Church, go to Covenant Church, or other churches in the local area. So this case provides insight into the way taken for granted gender beliefs became contested and reformulated during unsettled times, and informed not only modes of action in staying or leaving the church, but also informed patterns of lay leadership. So this led me to ask 4 research questions. First, how did members understand the split? Second, because the official statement cited the theological differences over women in pastoral leadership as the main point of contention, did men and women hold different positions on this issue? Third, how did members of the congregation make the decision to stay or leave in the advent of the schism? And fourth, how did the schism affect women in lay leadership?
Since 1976, 1,293 people have been executed, 16 of whom were executed this year. And so the motive for my research was a very simple one: to understand this system of punishment the death penalty, which condones the systematic killing of people. And so even though my major wasn't directly connected with the death penalty, and I couldn't find anyone sponsoring in the sociology department for this project, I decided that it was an important enough subject to conduct the research on my own. So I found in my research that there are 5 significant aspects of the death penalty that must be understood in order to understand the system as a whole. But before I go on to discuss those 5 aspects, I want to divulge the relevant information, the background information. So first, the death penalty is reserved for less than 2% of criminal cases, and significantly less people are actually executed by that death sentence. And usually it's only given to people who commit homicides with aggravated circumstances, such as committing homicide or with rape or torture or kidnapping, or people who commit more than one homicide. Secondly, a moratorium was placed on the death penalty by the 1972 Supreme Court case of Ferguson v. Georgia, but it was lifted by the 1976 case of Greg v. Georgia. 36 years later, 33 states still administer the death penalty, including California. However, recently the Safe California Act qualified for the November 2012 statewide ballot, and that act advocates that we supplant the death penalty with life in prison without parole.
And the subject of my investigation is international undergraduate students who wish to study here for 4 years and get their bachelor degree. And clearly we can see there are increasing numbers of such student body, but does UCSD really know about these international students? And do they actively get involved on campus? And how do they really bring in the idea of diversity? And also, as a member of this student body, I'm not only curious about how much UCSD knows about us, but also how much we know about UCSD. Have we really tried to establish a strong connection between UCSD and us? And have we really actively reached out in UCSD? The main method I use is doing some individual interviews, and I also did an online survey. And from the interviews and survey, I found some common themes which I want to share. The first and the most is identity. So being a degree-seeking student, that is students who want to stay here for 4 years, is totally different from being exchange or visiting students who only here for 1 year or just 1 quarter. Because their expectation of education in UCSD not only includes the American style education, but also a preparation for their future careers. So whenever I tell people that I'm a freshman and I did research in economics, everyone is always kind of surprised because I don't think they expect people to do research in economics. But what's happened is behavioral economics has actually evolved, and it's kind of a combination of clinical psychology, of cognitive science, and literally what it's researching is the individuals, because we have this huge economy, but really it's dependent on these millions of people in the countries and the cities, and it's how they're choosing to spend their money which is going to drive the economy. So what we're actually researching is we're trying to model how individuals value their money, because there's lots of situations which go against the typical traditional position of economics of people being self-motivated, such as charity giving. Why would you give away your money? What's the benefit for you? So these are all things that really need to be researched. So I'm going to go through this as if you guys have been actual participant in the study. So Professor James Andriani and I we put together an experiment that we put on in the Econ Lab, and this is what you would have faced if you had been one of the UCSD students that had signed up for it. So I don't know if you've been reading through it, but the gist of the experiment is you are going to be given a packet, and in each packet there are going to be decisions that you can make to allocate money between you and a partner. And the important thing is that you know who your partner is, and we actually make sure that on the two sides of the room, we have you point to your partner. So you know that there's a person in the room, and it's real money that's being divided because you always get paid if you take place in an econ experiment. So you know that the person is a student, you see them, and you have a 50-50 chance of deciding who gets the money. So sadly, the data didn't come out as crisply as we would have wanted it to, but I think that just shows that it's really hard to study and try to model how people act, because people they contradict themselves, they sometimes don't always act in the ways that we would expect them to. But I think you can generally group the people that we surveyed into 4 categories, and that is the first group always gives the most. So no matter what the situation was, they always try to be as fair as possible to their partners. And if you match them up with their questionnaire, it shows that those people really did value fairness. The second group was the complete opposite, and they said they were very motivated to make the most money as possible, and they always acted in their self-interest. And those were the very easy ones. And then the third group were the people kind of affected by the alternative, and they would take it they would change their decisions based on the column that was staying the same. And then there's this final group that drew pictures with their things, and they would check the alternative sides. And in their questionnaires, because we had a spot that we wanted to see if people checked in the distinct patterns for a reason, some people answered that they thought it was more fair if they just alternated columns back and forth. So that kind of calls into question people's perception of fairness.